commissioning framework is a single approach to introducing change in Solihull, and it applies to all the partners to the Solihull Partnership. The reason that we're introducing it is because we want consistency in how people do commissioning in Solihull.
What are the 4 key stages to commissioning in Solihull, and what do they mean?
The first is plan, and that's about collecting the information that's available about services and outcomes in an area. So how do we use our resources at the moment? What effect do they have on the people of Solihull? And analysing that and looking at the story that it tells us. That's the first phase. The second phase is engage, so using that story that we've collected and sitting down with different stakeholders to look at it, to understand what it means, and to decide how we could improve. So to use that story and to look forward, how we might want to do things differently. That's the engage stage. The third stage is about secure. So having sat down with people and decided what's most important to make an improvement, going out and getting it. So if we need to buy new services, we go out and buy them. We find the people who are best placed to deliver them and we ask them to do it for us. It might be about just changing the way people do things. So it's about sitting down with them and working through how they might do things slightly differently. That's the third phase, secure. And the fourth phase is manage, which pretty straightforward really. It's making sure that we got what we wanted and has it made a difference. So that's about managing contracts with organisations that we've contracted with, or just keeping an eye on some of the changes that people said they would introduce. You know, have they done it and has it made a difference? And then what we've learned from that manage phase feeds back into the planning again.
Is commissioning a possibility for small organisations as well as large?
It's not about the size of the organisation, it's what people know in those organisations. So every one of those 4 phases that I talked about, there is a role for small organisations as well as big. For example, in the planning phase, small organisations have a lot of local intelligence, knowledge of communities that we need to include. At the engage stage, they hold a lot of expertise about how we could do things differently. Obviously the other 2 stages of securing services and managing those services, it may be that small organisations are responding to tenders for changes or are simply changing the way they do things to help make the difference for local communities. So very much at every part of the commissioning process, whether it's small organisations, big organisations, voluntary organisations, statutory organisations, it doesn't really matter. It's about people with the right knowledge and expertise to make that commissioning process work.
Do you have any advice on how small organisations can get involved?
Well, the first thing is, don't assume it's someone else's business. Don't think someone else will do it for you. Get involved, because actually your organisation will know a lot about the area where you work. And other organisations, particularly larger organisations, won't have that level of detailed knowledge. You know, we need what you know to inform commissioning.
Is there a difference between, say, commissioning a service worth hundreds of thousands of pounds and one that costs just a few £100s to deliver?
At every level, the process needs to be tailored depending on how difficult it is. So if you're planning an improvement in outcomes for a whole community in a big area, which impacts on many services, then that's going to take a lot more time in the planning phase, a lot more time in the engagement phase, and will potentially require tendering many services and changing many services. So that will be a completely different scale of commissioning process to focusing on a particular group of children and young people or adults in a small area. You know, so the whole system is designed so it can be tailored.
Who in Solihull has signed up to the framework?
The framework is owned by the Solihull Partnership and was signed off by the Solihull Partnership Governing Board in January this year. There are many partners to the Solihull Partnership, including the third sector and the council and the care trust, police and many others. Each of those has responsibility for making this common commissioning framework stick. But actually the big challenge is not publishing the framework, it's using it to make a difference.
Is the framework available for anyone to see? If so, how can they get a copy?
we want as many people to see it as possible. So we've already published the first version on the partnership website, and I have here in front of me a draft copy of the new version that we're about to publish shortly. So do get your hands on a copy via the Solihull Partnership website, or get in touch with the team and we'll send you a copy.